Josh Kraushaar is the editor of Jewish Insider. Josh, good morning. There is news in the Times of Israel this morning that Israel has struck another building in Beirut, allegedly the head of Nasrallah's air force, such as it is. I'm beginning to think that the Mossad has flipped Nasrallah. What do you think?
Well, Hugh, it's been a pretty remarkable military effort the last week or two in destroying a lot of Hezbollah missiles, launchers, and as you've noted, a lot of the top leaders, except for Nasrallah. So there's certainly we learned, Hugh, from the pager operation that Israel has penetrated. I think a lot of the upper echelons of Hezbollah, and they certainly know who they're going after. I don't think you underestimate the challenge it'll take to push them north and have a buffer zone as they're looking to do is with this military operation. Uh, Calling.
Josh, sometimes I remind people Kim Philby was at the top of MI6 forever and he was working for the Soviets. Maybe Nasrallah turned because he didn't get blown up by his pager and all of his deputies are dead. What, what do you think they think inside of Hezbollah right now?
Well, I wish that was the case, Hugh. I think the fact, if they wanted to avoid more of their top operatives and military leaders getting killed, they'd probably agree to some diplomatic deal in which they'd move north and stop firing missiles into Israel. Like that would be the easy way to do it. So, it'd be a nice, it'd be quite a story if that was the case. But I still think that he's all evidence is that Nasrallah is alive and well and continuing to wage war against Israel.
All right, let's talk seriously about United Nations Security Resolution 1701 is on the books. It's been on the books since 2006. It calls for Hezbollah to move north of the Litani River. They have never done so. I do not know why we need a ceasefire. What we need is 1701 to be enforced. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I mean that's what we're seeing right now, which is that Israel is trying to use at least the force, the operation that they're conducting right now, taking out Hezbollah military positions, taking out military leaders. They've called up some reserves, a threat of potentially sending ground troops into Lebanon, and the U.S. and a lot of the European allies are saying we want a ceasefire. We think this is escalatory. The thing that's escalatory is that Hezbollah, since October 8th, the day after October 7th, has been firing intermittently firing missiles into Israel and making the northern part of the country, about 60 to 80,000 Israeli citizens have not been able to live in their homes as a result of Hezbollah's aggression. So I mean and you're right. The UN resolution from back, what is that, 2006?
Yes.
Laid out the ground rules that Hezbollah is certainly not abiding by. So diplomacy can only be implemented by force, and that is what Israel's belief is, that it'll take the threat of force and the actual aggressive taking out of top Hezbollah leaders, and with remarkable intelligence operations like we saw with the exploding pagers. That's what it'll take if Hezbollah is not abiding by its diplomatic agreements.
I asked Ambassador Oren this morning. I want to ask you, Josh. The United States Department of Defense announced they will not share intel, their intelligence product, with the Israelis, which, in my view, hurts our ally, helps the terrorists, and endangers innocent Lebanese. How did you react when you read that story that DOD is cutting off, at the direction of the White House, obviously, Biden and Harris, no more intel product for Israel about Lebanon?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a divide in the administration. There are certain top people that we know by name who think it's actually good for Israel to actually apply strength, apply military force, because that actually may lead to diplomacy. That may lead to, or at least a temporary peace. That's the only way that these people, these terrorists, understand things in the Middle East. There's another faction, a pretty large one, I would say, in the administration and I think it's Biden shares this view, which is that anything Israel does is escalatory, and there's some, they kind of frame this in a morally equivalent way, a tit for tat way, which I think is, it only empowers Israel's enemies. So yeah, I mean, it was, I guess that was the Pentagon spokeswoman yesterday making those comments. Look, they're trying to avoid a wider war. They're trying to de-escalate. That's the favorite word in the White House these days. When it comes to foreign policy, de-escalation. They don't seem to accept the fact that sometimes you need peace through strength. you actually need to use force to get the peace that you desire.
Well said, Josh Kraushaar. I do not envy you your job today because covering a war at this distance, then one that is expanding rapidly, very hard to do. But if people follow Josh on X at Josh Kraushaar, they will get late breaking news as it occurs from Israel. They will also go to the Jewish Insider and be able to follow all the stories about Israel. Thank you, Josh.